The year is 1985. Julio César Chávez is tearing up the super featherweight division in style as onlookers witness in awe. After knocking out fellow Mexican Mario Martinez for the vacant WBA title, Chavez is ready to prove his talents in the United States after schooling top fighters in his homeland for 5 years straight. After a dominant win over a top contender by the name of Ruben Castillo, and a vow to win 100 fights undefeated in honor of his mother's dying wish, Chavez sets his eyes on the Mayweather family. Can the Cesar of boxing continue leading his glorious empire to victory, or will Black Mamba Mayweather strike his venom deep into the heart of Mexico's finest? Welcome back to Boxing After Dark. Tonight we're going to be deconstructing what most agree to be the beginning of Julio César Chávez prime in a bout against Roger Mayweather, a somewhat forgotten yet ultimately respected technical wizard of the 80s. In a fight of major importance for two stand-up personalities in a decade of boxing famous for its ferocity and aggression, with champions at the time being characters like Roberto Duran, Mike Tyson, and marvelous Marvin Hagler, it's easy for respectful and defensive students like Roger Mayweather and all-rounders like Chavez to slip through the cracks of fame until the 90s would come around. But that's why we here at Boxing After Dark will be shining a light on a forgotten fight such as this on today's video to remind the world that even while boxing had one of its widest selection of stars in the 80s, there's still some brilliant bouts that got swept under the rug in the haste of its heydays. Julio César Chávez, although not as popular as he'd become in his fights against De La Hoya and Pernell Whitaker over a decade later, still had the whole of Mexico cheering him on, along with Don King, of course, who would swiftly pick him up and put a nice shiny contract in front of him. While Julio's list of fights outside of Mexico were next to none, his performances he'd been giving had still attracted the eyes of thousands. From his defense to his power to his movement, Julio seemed near inimitable, and people were excited to see how he'd match up against other top contenders in his weight division and beyond from all across the world.
He articulated all the virtues that Mexican fighters are supposed to have. He didn't submit to the odds. He kept coming.
Roger Mayweather, while not as famous as some future characters from his family and even his older brother Floyd Sr. before him, was fighting strong competition and already regarded to be the best fighter of the family, having won the WBA and the Ring Super Featherweight title in '83 with a magnificent knockout against Samuel Serrano. Soon after becoming a champion, Roger would lose his title to Rocky Lockridge in a destructive first-round knockout, causing many witnesses to question Mayweather's chin, or lack thereof. Frustrated and motivated from back-to-back losses, Roger would achieve some comfortable, classy knockout victories against a string of somewhat respectable fighters, and former fans were once again won over by Roger's magnificent style and inconceivably devastating right hand. Wanting to see how he'd let up with a man of Chavez style after being recently unleashed into the USA, Mayweather jumped at the chance of winning a new super featherweight title when given the opportunity of a lifetime. The fight came on the 7th of July in 1985. All boxing fans stayed tense in anticipation for a fight that was expected to be a magnificent footnote for whoever got the victory and the beginning of the end for whoever lost. Chavez looks anxious in a new and confusing world away from home, but ready to fight and prove himself nonetheless. Mayweather looks calm yet focused for the bout that he hopes will put him back into the realm of boxing champions. The Warriors touch gloves, and the fight begins.
Mayweather, perhaps the tougher opponent in his career, although he has had fewer fights, 21-2 with 14 knockouts. Chavez turning pro at 17 after a short amateur career in Mexico, unbeaten in 44 bouts, 38 knockouts. He has defended once against Ruben Castillo. This is big as
Chavez. If he the jam of Roger Mayweather is the key punch to try to get that right hand in.
And said, no, I fight for my own reputation. There's a solid right by the challenger Mayweather. In Julio César up.
Mayweather setting the punch now.
Seconds of round one.
His concentration is very good this first round.
Don't hold it.
Round number two of a scheduled 12-round WBC Super Featherweight Championship bout. The champion in green is Julio César Chávez. World title. The challenger is the former WBA champion Roger Mayweather. He scores a good combination. That rocked the champion Chavez.
For Mayweather, he kept moving, and the jab was starting to frustrate Chavez.
Britain, Mike Jacobs, Sid Nathan, Lano Dimas Hernandez Sanchez, Caracas Hernandez.
So much behind the kill.
Another big right hand by the challenger Mayweather.
And what set that up, Mayweather slid to right, beautiful. He just was hurt.
Yes, he is. Mayweather took 2 consecutive right hands from the champion Chavez just after he landed a big one of his own.
Mayweather has the move now. He's still on Queer Street.
They ruled it a slip, evidently. There was no count, but he's in difficulty.
That can cause
Down he goes again. A short right hand from the champion Chavez. Still on rocky legs. Mayweather still in difficulty.
First knockdown of the round. That could be significant.
Chavez comes in with a right hand lead. Mayweather still in difficulty trying to tie him up.
No knockdown.
No, that was not a knockdown.
Wobbly leg.
Under a minute to go on round number 2. Mayweather's only been stopped once by Rocky Lockridge.
He lived that fight with Rocky Lockridge in the first round.
Chavez pouring it on. He's got him again. A combination. Mayweather, no legs underneath him. And Richard Steele has stopped it. He has stopped it here in the second round. Julio César Chávez from Mexico with a second round knockout of Roger Mayweather. And this young man is for real.
Julio César Chávez had now proven himself outside of his home country, and the people who had witnessed such a comfortable victory against such a strong fighter now waited in anticipation for who he would defend against next. Roger Mayweather would sadly be forced back down to the bottom of the super featherweight chain and made to climb his way back up. But there was no doubt he'd be back, and according to himself, he'd be better than ever. Both fighters would garner much success over the next 4 years before their highly anticipated rematch would materialize, with Roger becoming the WBC light welterweight champion for the first time, schooling future legend and Hall of Famer Vinny Paz.
I love to fight Julio César Chávez. I think it's the biggest little fight right now on the market, and it's the only fight for Mayweather at this particular point.
Chavez would up his record from 47-0 to 62-0, beating two-time lightweight champion Jose Luis Ramirez in stunning fashion, and most importantly, the multiple weight champion Edwin Rosario, a fight infamous in Julio's career for its beautiful knockout, after bad words shared and bad blood smeared. The rematch for these two titans arrived in 1989, and while Roger was expected to win in their first rodeo, Chavez had become a wide favorite by the time of their second meeting. The two fighters both seem eager to perform better than they did in their last session together, and as the referee gives the two sportsmen the go-ahead to fight, the boxers respectfully touch gloves and the bell rings once again.
In their first bout, Chavez was able to get inside Mayweather's jab easily. Mayweather has vowed that it won't be so simple this time around. Good right hand by Mayweather.
Move at this pace for 12 rounds.
Has thrown by far more punches. But it is Chavez who has been the aggressor, and he shortens the distance between himself and the Black Mamba.
As round one opens, Roger Mayweather dances his way around the ring at a frenetic pace, daring Chavez to catch him while peppering Julio up with jabs all the while.
It was a very quiet minute between rounds in Chavez's corner, and Chavez has begun to connect now. Here's a left.
That left landed. Mayweather has weathered that storm. He's just playing possum here in this fight, Jim. Tips of the night, Jim, is he has tied up.
A little bit. Like that. And slipping again. Uppercut or two. He has not yet had. Right hand landed flush on the jaw. And the sheer aggression of Julio César Chávez begins to take its toll, and now Mayweather rallies. Round 3 counting down.
Round 3 sees a closer round than the last, with both fighters attempting to break the other's will. Mayweather lands a low blow that leads him to have a point deduction, and the fight in that moment becomes instantly more difficult from then on out for the Mamba.
And there's the right cross. And an uppercut landed flush on Chavez's chin, but Chavez does not back up. Right hand from Chavez. Mayweather clowning just a little bit. Again warned Mayweather, this time for holding behind the head.
Oh, blow again.
Low blow again, Ellis Burrow said. And and they're yelling at each other. Mayweather just missed with what would have been a sensational right cross.
He once left Mayweather because he felt he was playing around too much and not training hard enough. Oh, watch it low.
Chavez stepping in now and landing with much more consistency than was the case in the earlier round. Julio César Chávez has designs on bigger things, big money. This is a close fight.
Watch those roads over, huh?
We're in the 6th round. It's scheduled for 12. Chavez continues to stalk. Mayweather. A little more energy now from the Black Mamba again. And more sprightly. Now Chavez lands a left and a right.
You remember earlier, Jim, I said that the boxer usually has the advantage in the first half of the fight.
The right in the last round. Chavez now, vintage Julio César Chávez, making Mayweather miss inside and countering. This is regarded as one of the very best in the sport at it. Mayweather is holding his own. There is a very good professional fighter. Julio César Chávez has never lost. Carries Chavez halfway across the ring, and the crowd begins to erupt.
What do these two men have inside them?
There's a lot of debris in the ring. There's ice, there are cups, there are hazards. Chavez going to work. Mayweather's eye is cut. All of a sudden, Roger Mayweather has blood coming from a mouth underneath the left eye. And he's landed it twice in a row. Make it 3 times. Good left hand by Mayweather. Mutual fury. He won't be stopped from moving forward. They flurry again after the bell, 3rd time in the fight.
Manager saying you can knock him out, which suggests the concern they have because of the cut over his right eye.
Round 9 of a war at the Forum. And this has been great stuff. And Mayweather suddenly is not fighting back anymore. He's great at it too. Begins to look a little like the Rosario fight did in the late stages.
Decision because of Chavez's activity, because he's always moving forward and making the fight. In a close fight, that kind of fighter will get the benefit of the doubt.
Him at 140.
He has awesome will. It's very rare the kind of willpower you see in Chavez combined with his skills. Break.
Roger Mayweather is fighting valiantly, but at this moment, as Larry Merchant points out, he's losing.
As Chavez gets ready for yet another round of domination, Mayweather retires in his corner after insinuating stomach cramps for being the reason. After years of time apart and a promise of history being rewritten, the same result is achieved, and Julio César Chávez is still the undefeated champion. Chavez at this point seemed unstoppable. Famously wanting to go 100-0, it seemed more than possible after Julio's 63rd victory, and while he never quite achieved what he set out to do, finally being beaten by Frankie Randall 89 victories into his career, with a controversial draw to Pernell Whitaker happening just 3 fights prior, there's no doubt Julio was already a towering strong pillar of boxing that would never be forgotten.
just like that right hand, then the left hook. And that's the end of it. That's all he wants.
Chavez retired in 2005 after a 25-year-long career and was celebrated worldwide as one of the greatest fighters of not just his era, but of all time. Roger Mayweather would continue fighting for 10 more years after his second loss to JC, challenging twice more for a title against Costa Zoo and Rafael Pineda, respectively. After losing both fights and struggling to get himself another chance at the top, the Black Mamba retired indefinitely, choosing to instead train his nephew for the vast majority and prime of his long career. This nephew, of course, being the great Floyd Mayweather Jr., who many perceive to be one of, if not the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of the latest century. Roger would do an incredible job in quite literally teaching Floyd the ropes and letting him in on a lot of the greatest Mayweather family techniques. And to this day, when looking at footage of both Floyd and Roger's fights, it's easy to see their relation, whether it be through their style, substance, or strengths. And although Roger was far from perfect as a man and had his fair share of controversies throughout his life, he made a beautiful impact on boxing, whether it be in his own time or well after it with his family. In 2020, Roger Mayweather sadly passed due to seemingly multiple illnesses, with diabetes and amnesia being noted most often among family and friends. Yet he will forever live on through a fight like tonight's with the heart of a lion and the resilience of a champion. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more from us here Boxing After Dark, feel free to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to drop a like and comment. Thanks for watching.